I just want to do a sound check, see if I'm okay here, if I need to plug something in.
Yeah, you sound good. We heard a little bit of slapback from ourselves, but it seems like Skype corrected it.
All right.
So, and this has been widely reported about the movie. The number one, the entire reason why Batman is going after Superman is because of that final fight scene in Man of Steel. And number two, the movie goes out of its way, hilariously so at times, to let the audience know that they've heard their pleas and nobody is here. They're sure this looks like insane destruction that's happening, but no one's here, including at one point Anderson Cooper, as the anchor live narrating this massive fight, says, "Well, thank God it's after 5 o'clock and everyone's left downtown."
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
The military, they land on this island, and the military's like, "Oh, thank God it's uninhabited."
So is it true that Batman is just like shooting people left and right in this movie?
You know, I think it's hard to tell, because I think in a movie where I guess here's what was missing from, I think, both of the films. Like, and really there's an element of this in Man of Steel where, like, kind of what's interesting about Superman, because he's such an overpowered hero, is that when overpowered villains come to fight him, like, his handicap is he's got to save the old woman instead of taking the shot to the jaw that could beat the villain, right? Like, so, like, that's a constant pull, and it is an advantage to the villain. And for a character that has very few weaknesses, that's one of them. In Batman vs. Superman, you get, and this is all in the trailer, all the, like, him saving the rocket and stuff, like, that's all. There's just this weird out of place montage of him with a scowl on his face, like, saving the day in slow motion. Like, there's no joy, there's no, like, saving the construction worker, and then he's like, "Yeah, Superman, you the man." Like, there's none of that. There's no happiness. Like, it's just like wordless, scored, like, I guess.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, like, when it comes to the violence and the collateral damage, it's like, I think it's kind of being a little bit overblown, because I don't know if at the end of the day more people are dead in that movie by way of hand-to-hand combat than an Iron Man movie or a Captain America movie. Right. But it just seems weirder because you get the sense that Captain America and Iron Man, like, have a real interest in human life and aren't just, parading around and punching people as hard as they can.
There was a, like Bad Boys 2, there's a scene where, like, they take this monster truck and they're just driving through this, like, Dominican village. And
yes,
you watch that and you're like, all right, this is horrible. This is horrible. This is clearly, hey, it'd be cool? Like, just driving through a shanty town, destroying it. Because if you have 1 ounce of humanity in you and you're empathetic, when you watch a movie, you're like, what about the people? And the idea that for the filmmakers that it was this such an afterthought, that there was this, here's this great visual. Well, what about people? We'll say something. And that gets the whole idea of storytelling wrong, because you don't care, because it becomes a pointless, it becomes a monster truck pull. There is no value. There is nothing, because the only thing that has value is spectacle without context. And that's what I'm afraid to see this movie for many reasons. And
I'm deathly afraid of bats and men who think they're super.
Yeah. I don't want to be part of a pile-on. I don't, it's a movie that some part of me, somebody mentioned Age of Ultron. Yeah, I don't think that's a good movie either.
Oh, it's the usual suspects. Like I had my
compared
problem. I had my problem with Age of Ultron, but it was problems where somebody who knew story made different story decisions and different motivation decisions than I think was best to serve the overall narrative. This I like. It's somebody playing chess poorly versus somebody playing checkers with sorry pieces.
And with this, it was one of these things where it was every announcement came from the Justin and Andrew book of things you shouldn't do, or how not to do Lex Luthor. Oh, we're going to cast Jesse Eisenberg to play this cackling, unsympathetic, like, well, there goes my, hey, why don't you cast somebody like Matthew McConaughey or somebody who's just really compelling that you want to root for? Nope, opposite. Clearly he's got to be a villain. And then, number one rule of Andrew, don't ever open with the dream sequence.
Oh, is that what happened? God.
Oh, not only does it open with a dream sequence, it goes on to have a total of 4 dream sequences, none of which connect to the plot, and a waking fantasy wherein a character talks to a dead character, and then you realize that the dead character wasn't there, and it was just the character doing it in his mind, which might as well be a dream, but I guess they figured 5's too much.
So is it as bad as that last Fantastic Four movie?
I haven't seen the last Fantastic Four movie. I would. I mean,
there are many
I think
different kinds of bad, Bryce.
Sure.
Is Charles Manson as bad as Hitler?
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. I get what you're saying. That's comprehend.
I think they're probably bad for the same reasons. I think that's probably clear. That this is kind of classic studio overreach, picking the wrong people, and then meddling. It seems like a lot of Indians and no chief, like that kind of problem. Whereas, listen, now that it's been kind of repeated with the Star Wars thing, it's like you've got your template in what Disney's doing with Marvel. And by the way, this isn't like a Marvel thing. It's because Marvel could have made pretty crappy movies, and then they got bought by Disney, and they got money, and they got hierarchy, and they got power, and
they also got that relentless, tearing apart. Like, okay, is there a tighter way? That's what I noticed on Zootopia. Is like there is not an ounce of fat on that thing. Every single thing is setting up, an echo of that moment later on.
Yeah. With Marvel, the Marvel story group, it's not. You get the idea, like DC, like, we have a story group where it's, a bunch of guys to make up stories. No, a story group is a group of people. How do you make something tighter and better? Not, to just keep throwing new ideas against the wall. It's how do you take an existing idea and make it really well? And you have with Marvel, you had Kevin Feige, who is a super tight, guy that, has shown what they've learned over the years with the Marvel movies and how they put together a great team. Disney brought in Kathleen Kennedy, who, has a wonderful track record and is actually heavily involved, very, very focused, works with the top screenwriters and directors and to make that happen. And then like Zootopia, once there was the merger of Pixar, the thing that we were afraid that Pixar movies would get maybe less good and that they've been really uneven, between Good Dinosaur and Inside Out. The surprise has been how good Disney movie cartoons have become, where Frozen and Zootopia, et cetera, the quality overall, you see that across the board has leveled up.
Yeah, no, and I even like I don't know, the kids are rewatching Big Hero 6, which I thought was a fantastic kind of that was a Marvel property that got folded into the Disney treatment, right? Is that what happened?
It was a comic.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it was. It was originally was under the Marvel label. I don't know how much they developed it in house at Marvel versus Disney or whatever. But that was a movie that it follows a lot of tropes and stuff, but it's a really fun, good movie, and that's what's. Again, I haven't seen I might walk into Batman v Superman. I mean, here the effing V. It just, we're seriously. It's Batman v Superman.
like they're in court.
Yeah, and
Well,
I mean,
it certainly set a legal precedent for me never being excited about these movies ever again.
oh God, and then you hear about like Snyder saying something about like, oh yeah, this is what we did with Jimmy Olsen, and you're like, oh God.
I mean, this is a movie that they said was going to be too smart for many fans.
Yeah, I got to use the restroom. So
now I did get a degree in journalism from the SI Newhouse School of Public Communications, but I can report firsthand from the front lines, it is not too smart for anybody. In fact, it is if what you enjoy is a pseudo-intellectual person repeating the same gobbledygook monologue about gods and God's relationship to man, then, man, this is your movie. Because there are about 90 monologues of, do you know what gods are? Gods are devil demons. Have you ever thought about Power Man?
I mean, like we're like gods. Whoa. Yeah. I did like, and again, this is coming from a guy who hasn't seen it, but Scott Johnson, I think, sagely pointed out that if you loved it, you're 100% right. If you hated it, you're 100% right.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen,
because you could go, like, it's very clear that this is like a Rorschach test of what you want to get out of a movie going into it.
I mean, what my issues with the movie are issues that I feel like I can demonstrate, right? And I can say, hey, this is what I enjoy in storytelling. This is what I don't enjoy in storytelling. This is what I found confusing. This is what I've found to be poorly plotted. If you dig a movie, I am in zero. I have zero desire to bash what people like.
Yeah.
Like, what you like is what you like, and that's great, right? And that's fine. But hell, man, half the reason why I got on the internet is so I could talk about movies to people. So it's like, listen, I want to talk about a movie that everybody saw and everyone's going to have an opinion on. And this one just happened to be poo-poo.
Man, I'm ready. I feel like that was a good episode we just did.
I know.
Welcome to After Things.
Big congratulations to the Syracuse Orange for making it to the Final Four.
I love me some Batman. I'm excited about the idea of Affleck taking over the Batman franchise. I love the conceptual idea of DC saying that we're going to do a little more grittier, grown-up sort of, universe, sort of like Christopher Nolan did. That's exciting, and unfortunately, this does not look like we got anywhere near that. And I think part of this is it's a movie where they think their audience is the guys in the front row at Comic-Con who are going to get excited over every costume reveal and, think Chekhov's gun is a phaser.
All right, guys, we good to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Y tú bien? Mi tocadiscos es descompuesto.
And Justin Robert Young.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Weird Things show, reunited. And it feels so good.
We just got a takedown notice. that was 2 on the nose.
Should I say it more stilted?
Yeah.
Reunited.
Yeah, you should explain it's a parody, where it's like, oh no, it's like what if the guy who sang a song had a beard? See, it's a parody.
I don't know. I had a thing where I really wanted to watch the Larry Sanders Show, and right now it's not streaming anywhere. So I did what I normally don't do, and I went to YouTube to see if there were any full episodes.
You
of
got on those bootlegs.
But they were all sped up. So it was like I couldn't watch it. I watched like the first 5 minutes and got Rip Torn's trademark like wow Larry like, but it was like Larry, and I couldn't handle it anyway. So that's a great way to start the show. I'm really professional. Andrew, hi.
Oh, hey guys. I'm sorry. What were you saying? I was just
It probably is
right.
worth taking a moment to say I was surprised that I was affected at all by Gary Shandling. If you told me to list the 100 comedians that mattered to me, I don't think I would even remember him to put on the list. But having him taken so young was really a surprise.
Wow, Brian, what a touching tribute.
No, I mean I'm saying again, the surprise is that it affected me more than I thought, and
Okay.
apparently I cared more than I did.
Gotcha. Much better. Yeah, it's Gary Shandling show. That was so ahead of its time. Oh my God.
And the whole bit where he would just talk to the camera in the middle of the scene, you know, and people were like, "That's just too weird," and he had to couch it in terms like, "Hey guys, on the news they talk to you, and like you're there. That's all I'm doing. Just be cool." And then later we'd see it in everything, all this postmodern kind of sitcom stuff.
Well, I mean, the Larry Sanders Show, they're kind of still doing that show now. I mean, that was something that really was on a level that 30 Rock, extras, like all that element of like presenting this crazy oversized Hollywood caricature of that are being played by the people that that are being parodied was just so well done, and not to mention the national television treasure that is Hank Kingsley, aka what's his butt, whose name I can't remember.
Well, now I can't remember the guy
George Bluth.
Yeah, the guy from Transparent.
Jeffrey Tambor.
Yes, thank you.
Hey now,
boy, welcome to remembering names. The show.
Loose start, man. Loose start. All right,
Yeah,
let's
because
go.
Justin said his name like 3 minutes ago. But yeah, you think about that. Two iconic shows. It's Gary Shandling show and the Larry Sanders show that just, thankfully Larry Sanders show caught on enough that people appreciated how brilliant it was at the time. It's Gary Shandling show was a show that was ahead of the curve, but he was a guy that clearly understood the medium, saw things that were funny, that now, if you were to do that show, it would be recognized as how brilliant it was.
And just a show that wore that 3-camera sitcom a badge sort of on its sleeve and completely reinvented where it was going. Like, it was just so well done.
Gentlemen, it's great that we can get together and talk like this. It's too bad that we're not going to be able to do this for much longer.
Wait, what?
Wait, huh?
They finally figured out that we do a show, and the government, the lizard people.
You guys have no idea how kind of close you are, but totally wrong.
Oh, really?
But same
Skype's going to start charging for the calls, and we'll be out of our budget.
Sort of, maybe. I don't know. If you were paying attention, in the man-machine prelude to the war in which we lose in like a nanosecond, when you talk about what are those iconic moments leading up to what will happen, and when it's over, and if there's anybody left to chronicle, maybe one of us in some sort of human zoo being poked at and prodded and electrocuted by like robo children. If you were to say, when did you know? I mean, when did you know it was going to end? And I think it was probably one point was like, when I start swearing at Siri when she totally doesn't understand what I'm asking for. And we could talk about, that video of the Boston Robotics or Boston Dynamics of the guy, the Atlas robot and the robot trying to move boxes and the guy knocking the stuff out of his hands.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's just icing. The real heart, the real meat of the matter, to mix my metaphors, is there was one area of human domain that we thought that perhaps this is the holdout. They're not going to get this. They're not going to be better at us than this. It used to be chess. We used to fantasize that chess was this really complicated game that you had to think three-dimensionally. It was why Kirk could beat Spock in chess, right? Three-dimensional chess, right? And we're thinking like, yeah, that's going to be, why we're going to win. And then the machines start winning at the game of Go.
Yeah, dude, and I wish I had the maybe Bryce can dig up the statistics. Like Go is so many light years more complicated than chess, and there's so many more possibilities. Like I think the leap is bigger from checkers. You know, checkers, there's 28 different ways the games can go, and once you've calculated those, you just go, and then you're done. Chess is obviously, a whole bunch more, but Go is just light years beyond it. I remember reading, even as Deep Blue beat Kasparov, reading articles saying like, well, that's amazing that it happened with chess, but as we all know, it'll end there, because if there's one thing they won't be able to do, it's play Go.
And now, I mean, not only a defeat, but a sound defeat for humanity with a former champion. This, of course, is was it AlphaGo, Google's AI?
Yes.
Yeah. 4-1. 4-1.
Yeah. And these systems, they get smarter and smarter and smarter. And certainly, we might be able to be in a position where we could redefine, well, the machine can't weigh more than the human opponent,
Yeah.
It can't use more energy. And then we could start saying, well, the human brain weighs this many pounds. And so it can't, we're going to have to really parse this closely. But, what we're at, though, is the point at which, they're catching up really, really, really quickly. And, there was an attempt was made to enter and it was kind of a little convoluted, but like a computer-generated novel, and it got accepted to a preliminary round of some book writing competition. And there are a lot of it selected a lot of pre-planned phrases and subjects and things like that the researchers picked for them. But we will get to a point where a much, much more complicated version of Google's project or Watson or whatever will sit down, theoretically, imaginary, sit down and read a bunch of books and, through just machine learning, generate something and, be better.
Number one, will that be bad? I think that'll be kind of
bad for me, Brian.
Well, we've already started to see that with there are algorithms now that suggest crazy recipes for stuff, where it's like it categorizes everything like, oh, this has umami, this has a sweet, this will add some bite to it, and so it'll just combine stuff where it's like, that sounds ridiculous, and then they follow the recipe and it's like, nope, this is freaking amazing. And I don't, it seems like we'll just have a richer world for it, I don't know.
Brian, in this richer world, I, as a struggling author, right now there are 2 million. There used to be 15 years ago, the publishing industry put out about 200,000 books a year. Now it's over 2 million books a year. In the machine age of machine authors, and it's inevitable. I'm not saying pass a law to stop it or anything. I'm just a typewriter repairman, a buggy whip manufacturer, looking at the age when it's going to be 2 billion books out there. And
but also you are more than that, though, because you have virtualized mass aspects of your personality. You are a brand. You could continue. We have authors now who are still selling books even though they're dead, and no. Like the guy had nothing to do with any of these, but they know if they release it under this name means this kind of book with this kind of twist at the end.
You are absolutely right. Andrew is a brand that has multifaceted efforts throughout many quantifiable digital platforms that can be replicated and mass-produced throughout not only the existing platforms, but every platform that will be developed here and now. Yes, Andrew is a great success, and he, among many others, will be setting the blueprint for his replacements.
But then you get to drive it, is what I'm saying.
No, I won't, because there will be some system driving itself working
Exactly.
nonstop, 24 hours, appearing at Comic-Con and there are something like, there's like 100 different or 200 different Comic-Cons across the country now. This one will appear at every single one, Brian,
Well,
all
okay.
at once.
So I guess maybe that's one of those things where, I mean, to be honest, if you're the one piloting it, that seems good, right?
I won't be.
No.
Well, what?
This is the next one. This is the next. So, like,
well, yeah, down the road,
really successful. But
by that,
have you read the brand new Martha solving case?
Well, okay,
she's better.
So Amazon's going to have their algorithm generating these things, and I'm going to go, hey guys, here's my book, and they're going to be like, no, our AI authors are outselling you. We don't even want to deal with a human because we don't. It's not worth it.
But again, there's that intermediary step, right? There's going to be the moment there's a novel bot that will read all of your books and then auto generate one for you. I mean, that's going to be a good 5-year stretch of you're going to use that and you're going to start churning out 6 books. You're going to read them and you're like, well, I didn't like this. Let me tweak this. But, hey, man, it did the heavy lifting, made up character names, which I usually have a hard time doing. It did the research on this backstory and it's added this subplot, which I normally wouldn't have thought of. So, yeah, no, it's an Andrew Mayne book. It was seeded with my stuff, processed by this stuff. And I'm certainly going to release it and I'm going to get the money from it. Like that's, and yes, there is the complicated step that eventually, why do we even have Andrew Mayne? But at that point, you're playing a different chess game, and you're on to some other aspect of directing things.
I don't think I'll be able to play that game. I think that game's going to be dominated by the giants. It's going to be dominated by the Amazons and the James Pattersons and whoever has the IP to create the really good artificially generated stuff. It's not going to be. I'm going to be the week I publish. I'm going to be 3 years out of date. As far as how fast that develops.
Well, so here, Brian, I see what you're saying, and I think to bridge the gap, it really will be once that machine is created, right? Yeah, Andrew can pump out a bunch of books and he can upload them to Amazon, but what if Amazon, as part of their TOS, says, yeah, you can sell in our store. And in fact, you want to know what? Great news for you. We're giving you a bigger cut of what people pay. Here's all you need to do is just go ahead and check this box that says that we can scan your book just to make literature better. And then every book that he uploads is being fed into the algorithm that is matched with buying data, matched with how far people read in the Amazon cloud reader, matches with all this stuff to create better books for which he is only a data point. Even if he is a digitally augmented, he is only a data point of.
But then I would imagine if they did that, they would come up with some kind of revenue, some kind of literary equivalent of automatic licensing. Whenever somebody covers your music, like you can't stop somebody from covering your song, but they do have to pay an automatic royalty on it. I would imagine like you could have a scheme where it's like, well, yes, I was influenced by this, so I'm going to pay, the default percentage of it goes to Andrew Mayne's because it was based on his idea.
To cover, sure, but he would be only one of 100,000 books.
Sure, so it'd be like those hilarious Japanese television royalty checks where he's getting them for 37 cents a pop.
There's got to be, and there's interesting. Amazon actually has a thing called Kindle Worlds, which I don't know if you guys know about. We can talk about that in a second. But in this future, where whoever has the watts, and whoever has the system that does that. There's already a guy who uploads computer generated books and stuff onto Amazon, and they're complete utter crap because they just pull like Wikipedia entries or whatever, and it just hopes that somebody will click on that title and want to read it. But when they get really good, I'm saying, and it's hard enough to compete in a world of 2 million titles a year. When it's 20 million titles a year and 200 million titles a year, that they're using cutting edge algorithms to figure out that perfect title, that perfect machine generated text description, and all that stuff. I just have to go back and see if I can get my old job back at the movie theater scooping up the popcorn.
Well, come on, that'll be automated way before your job gets taken as a writer.
That's true. When they raise minimum wage to like $15 or $20 here, they're totally going to put machines in to do that. So,
I wonder.
I'm doomed.
Yeah. Well, yes. Okay.
And I don't buy this whole everybody should get. What about the future where everybody gets like a living wage kind of thing? Because then we become absolutely superfluous and useless, and it's a frightening situation.
Yeah. I mean, they'll still exist to serve. We'll still be able to tell the machines what to do. The problem is we will only care. Like, for example, right now you can buy fake bot Twitter accounts that you can have a million actual bots, just robots, but you don't care as a person about any of those bots, even though the bots actually read every single one of your tweets. And let's say they hang on a thread and they're the first to retweet it and all that stuff. You don't care because they're just bots. I only care about other human beings. And that's going to continue to be the case because think about it. If you've got robot authors, you're going to have robot customers as well. And it's like you're going to be I feel like people will always want that human touch, even if it's a lie, even if it's like you could fake it. You could have a robot. I'm not talking about the quality of the product. I'm just saying they want to believe that they're buying a book written by a person.
Brian, we're not going to name a name here, but somebody who Justin and I both deeply respect once shared with us an email exchange with a woman that fell in love with him online. And
I don't know who this person is, so you could tell the story.
He's a person we like, a very entertaining guy who, yeah, so this girl emailed me, she said she saw my profile and she wanted to meet me, she liked me, and she thought maybe she's in love with me, and I wrote to her, she's stunning, she's beautiful, and I had to tell her, I'm too old for her, she's gonna meet somebody, and this is being relayed to me, and Justin, it's like this, oh my God, how do you tell somebody that they're responding to spam?
Oh my God, he national treasure. He or she, whoever that darling person is a national treasure, and I love them.
But
Andrew made a really, really good point to me once that, when and to this day we have communication with Murphy's Magic Supplies, which is a big magic wholesaler out of Sacramento, California, and 9 times out of 10. I would communicate with them via email. If that's all I did and they replaced it with a sophisticated enough AI that would be able to answer simple questions, I don't know if I'd ever know the difference, right? I think like that is a Turing test that is like very close to be able to being passed. Now, in terms of our conversation here, I think you're right, Brian, that we will want that human touch. But I don't know once we cross that Rubicon, whether or not that continues to be a priority for us or just a marker of an antiquated age where we were getting used to a digitally enhanced lifestyle.
We had a friend that was going to school in Boston, and this is back in the 90s. I was talking to him on the phone, asking what's going on. He says, yeah, they just opened up a Barnes and Nobles here, and it put we're all worried about the mom and pop bookshop because they're not going to be able to survive Barnes and Noble, and everybody's kind of upset. I'm like, well, where do you buy your books? He goes, well,
Amazon.
No, at this point, still wasn't Amazon. He's like, Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, wait, here you are lamenting the fact that there's this big chain bookstore that's coming in there, putting the mom and pop out of there, and you're telling me about all the value of the mom and pop, but you're not going there. Your actions and your values are not consistent. And then now we lament Barnes & Noble going away because of, as you point out, Amazon. Because, well, what about that personal touch? What about this? What about that? And dude, Brian, I love your values. I don't know if I will act on those things because,
I mean, I just feel like
robot girlfriend.
Well, I mean, again, I think there's, I don't know. I feel like our expectations for what we deserve to get shift, along with what is available to us. And I think the idea of having passionate robot fans probably sounded pretty exciting in the early days of Twitter. And now nobody wants them. They're garbage. And we're not interested in them. And I think, like, for example, Twitter is, I deal with that right now. I answer comments on YouTube, and I answer people on Twitter, and it's always me. But oftentimes people are like, wait, is this Brian? Because it matters. Like, now granted, Brian the brand is responding to them or whatever, but like, is this just someone on the team of Scam School, or are you Scam School? Are you the guy that I'm seeing on there? I think that will continue to be important as more and more of the small stuff goes away. For example, like let's say if we were all super rich, we all had personal assistants that screened all our calls and had them go in. Over the years, 10 or 15 years, personal assistants got a very good sense of what we did and did not want to be bothered with. Things, the kind of projects we would and would not be interested in. So they essentially have this codified list in their mind, this flow chart of, do I bother Andrew with this or not, right? We're very close. What, 5 years, 10 years, we're going to have that digitally on our phones. We're going to have an assistant that filters stuff out. And instead of me bothering you, like, I'll just have my people talk to your people, and they will know. It's like, hey, I heard from Andrew Main's digital assistant that he's going to be in Austin during this time. You've got nothing going on. I went ahead and made reservations for this stuff. I'm going to put it on the calendar. I'll go, and I'll bring it up to him on our Monday meeting. And here's a proposed agenda of projects that we know that they're both interested in, and so on. So as that happens, all we're doing is we are just focusing on the parts we care the most about the humanity of other people. That robotic layer becomes transparent, and I suspect that's never going to go away. I suspect we'll always just care about other humans.
I will, to support your point of view, and one of the reasons why I've been making an effort now to do things like Silicon Valley Comic-Con and WonderCon is so people actually meet the person and see this guy there. And I had somewhat of an epiphany trying to contextualize that when I was at Silicon Valley Comic-Con, and I took a photo of the price list of what it costs to get your photograph taken with various celebrities.
Oh, wow.
And would you care to hear?
Hells yeah, dude. Dish on this. How much did you pay for that photo of you and R2-D2? I hear he's a real prima donna.
No, he actually paid to have his photo with me.
He's actually totally cool. He's so cool, man. I mean, like, I know he's been so big for so long.
Total stoner, though, man.
I think that with BB-8 on the scene, it kind of humbled him a little bit because he's
hustling a little more. I mean, if he effectively slept through that last movie, so
it's true that. Alan Tudyk, $66 to get your photograph with him.
Wow.
Bonnie Wright, she's from Harry Potter, $55. Christopher Lloyd, $77. Right? You're like, hey, what about one of the Avengers? Jeremy Renner, $136. Okay. Napoleon Dynamite, $44. And by the way, these sums are all vastly far more than what any of us will ever get for a photograph, or would one ever charge.
Yeah,
as long as we have other means, of income.
We're not shysters. In fact, I will guarantee that nobody on this show will ever charge you for a picture. And I definitely want you to play this clip when one of us charges for a picture at some point down the road.
Except we're contractually obligated.
Oh, really?
Leia Thompson, $60. Michael J. Fox, $272.
Is that the kind of thing they would do? Like at a, I mean, it makes sense. And of course, all of that money can't be going to the celebrities.
No, there's a company called Epic Photo Ops, and so they pay them a fee and they give them like a guarantee. And I'm going to defend absolutely. By the way, I think it's Nathan Fillion, $98, Nichelle Nichols, $55. But again, one of the Avengers at $136. Peter Mayhew, $44. Ray Park, $55. Stan Lee, $109. Vic Vagnogna, I'm not sure he is, $44. William Shatner, $82. So my point is,
by the way, this system now that they have is a lot better than it used to be, because I felt like it was kind of a dirty pool back in the day when you would just sort of go up and then you would bring your own camera and ask your friend to take the picture while the celebrity was still sitting down and looking bored. But now they got, I mean, most of the major cons, and I'm pretty sure this is what they did at Silicon Valley, they have like a photo set and it's well lit and they got their own really nice digital camera. Like that's a lot more reasonable to me, the way that they have it set up now.
Yeah. And and in defense of the celebrity is like, there's, if some of them do, they have, if they're if they're actively working, they have to go do a certain amount of publicity appearances to support movies and stuff. Otherwise they don't. There's not a lot of incentive for them to go hang out at a con and to go meet with fans, because they have their own lives and things to do. And every weekend there's a con somewhere.
Sure.
In this way, incentivizes, and I think it's totally justified to be able to do that. Totally no problem with the fact that they do that. And I think it's actually, because on one hand you look at that money, but then I know a guy who's got a photo. One of these photos that he took with William Shatner, and it was William Shatner's birthday the other day, is like, oh, remember I got this photo taken, and he doesn't say that he paid $100 for that photo. He makes it look like he's at some party hanging out with Bill or whatever, which wasn't the case. But for that guy, what he got out of it was, it's the ultimate autograph. Here I am with this person, and I made allowances for their time. So
well, and that's also, I mean, this is one of those weird, in defense of the free market things, where it's different celebrities have different levels of popularity, and there's going to be different lengths of line, and you could make it all free, and somebody can go spend an entire 3-day stretch waiting in a line for one tired photo at the end, or you can limit it, to it's a way to make sure that those who care the most are the ones who get it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the celebrity would never be there. I mean, the whole point of this is that there's Jeremy Renner is not there to go to the panels. Jeremy Renner is not there to go see what the latest comic book art is or whatever like that. That's not why he's there. He's there because he's a person that gets paid to make appearances. Those appearances can be movies or TV shows, or it can be to stand next to you and
exchange pleasantries for a very few minutes. But again, this just goes to like you're saying, this supports my theory, my current theory, which I reserve the right to change at any moment, that it's humans that we care about, and we're so self-centered that it'll always be humans that we care about.
And that's why I brought that up, because I do think that supports that point of view, Brian.
I'm sick of defending these money-grubbing, scum-sucking hucksters who are just ripping the general public off of their hard-earned coin, which is why I express my frustration about this by going to patreon.com/weirdthings, where I can support this show and let put all these phony baloney celebrities on notice that their scheme has not gone unreported.
Yeah, man. Look, I got the podcast for free. What are you saying? Now you want money? What kind of greedy bastards are they?
I love that when we cut to there, it says it was supported 2 cents per episode.
That's me.
I
put in. Hold on. I put in so that I can get the emails, so that I can make sure the emails go through. I do it for Cord Killers. I do it for Night Attack.
You know what? If it's the difference between you crossing that line or not, I say be like Bryce. Give us your 2 cents worth.
The 2 cent crew.
Get in the tent. That's all we need is for y'all to just get on in. Do it at any price that you feel fit. Head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings.
And we all of us here, all 4 of us, there are those Kickstarters or those Patreons that we're like, we see somebody we know comes up and we're like, fine, because I gotta share the support, and
yeah,
of course, I've ponied down some serious money on some other friends and stuff like that, and met them, and they didn't say anything, and then it's like,
oh yeah, Unfortunately, I don't even really know how much money I'm giving to different. If you feel like I should be supporting your page, these are the worst.
Whoa.
These are the worst thing you can say on the internet. If you feel like I missed you, then hit me up.
Wait, bro, what? Edit that out, Brian.
It's like, what the hell is this? Brewster's Millions all of a sudden?
Right, we got like 15,000 listeners here.
I'm just gonna yell at you before Bonnie does.
Time code set.
Oh.
Brian, you're a treasure, sir. You are a treasure.
I feel like I just pulled a Super Dave Osborne skit. I've got this idea.
And as frustrated as I may get with you sometimes, this is why I love you.
That's a big beating heart and is there for the world. Andrew, I have and maybe we want to save it for after things, but I had a virtual reality experience this week.
Oh, damn.
That I would love to talk about. Would it be better here or would it be better in after
Let's
things?
do it here because I got a couple things to go about on after things. So please.
So I got the chance to try out the HTC Vive, which of the 3 major VR headsets, this is the second of the 3. I've not tried the PlayStation VR yet, but I've tried the Samsung Gear VR, which is effectively a better version of Google Cardboard, the Oculus Rift, which is a step up above that, and then the HTC Vive, which Andrew has tried before and was very excited about, and I was very excited to try it out. I'm ready to buy an HTC Vive.
Wow. Just knowing, again, that's the. It's funny how, when you were a kid, you could only pick a Sega Genesis or a TurboGrafx 16, a Super Nintendo or a Genesis, whatever. And you had to just hope that was the right platform because you didn't have the budget to buy all 3. That wasn't a thing. But now this is the adult version of that, man. If you're going to drop $1,200, you're not getting also the Oculus Rift.
Well, I was sold on what is the defining factor between the two, which is the difference between a fixed point experience and an unfixed point experience.
Free range.
Where like you are wandering around and how much that added to the experience. And what made me the most excited wasn't necessarily how engrossed I was. And even the HTC has a little ways to go in terms of getting really amazing visual clarity. Like it's good, but it's still,
screen door.
It's screen door. It's the best way to put it. But what made me fall in love with it was that I realized there's a genre of game, a genre of experience that only coding and creativity stand between us and the best version of it. And it's, I played a great first-person shooter game called, I think, Space Pirate Training. Hover Junkies is another one that is you're flying on a barge, and that's like almost like a Twisted Metal arena style game that has a bunch of voices by Justin Roiland of Rick and Morty. But the one that I fell in love with the most was this game called Budget Cuts, and it's basically like a puzzle game, like a walk around a room until you figure out what's going on inside that room. It's got a really rad mechanic of how to teleport through things, so you have a little bit more free range, but it's stuff like this where like you're able to kneel down and see under a desk to get what you need, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me give you some interesting little science here. So I hung out with Paul Zak a couple weeks ago, our good buddy Paul Zak, Dr. Paul Zak, the neuroscientist, and he showed me an experiment they did, and it was doing like research for marketing companies, and they showed where it was. They had people watch this video, and on the video it was this very telling. It was just like a photo zooming in. It was this text telling you the story about these 2 sisters and twins or whatever, and how one of them like gave up a kidney or something so the other one could compete. And it's a very moving story. But below it, they had a graph, and they had one line showed you the response from people who were watching it on a widescreen TV. The other graph showed you people who were watching it on their handheld mobile device. And can you guess who had the stronger reaction?
I would imagine, counterintuitively, the handheld device, because even though it's a smaller image, it's one that you're holding and it's in your personal space. I don't know why I'm thinking that.
Justin?
I would go with Brian, but only because I was only half listening to you. Because I was trying to look something else up.
Brian, correct. It was the people with the mobile device had a much, much sharper, reaction to it. And Paul says it's probably because is it like you're physically connected to this as you move, it moves, and all that. And with the HTC Vive, that reminded me of that because it's just the fact that if I squat down or I tilt a little bit rather than being on that fixed point, the view changes as I change, not by me using a controller to move, but because my body is controlling the point of view and not just the way my neck turns. And that is why I think Justin had the same reaction I did doing the Vive. And I think it's just
like you just felt like you were in a physical space. That is a real area to you. The
yeah,
moment it's turned on.
That room where you do the paintbrush thing
Yeah.
felt real to me. That is as real of a space as other places I've been into.
There's that, but then for me, I found myself visually awed and certainly in love with how immersive those things were. But what really transfixed me was the idea that it was immersive enough that I could let the puzzle take me, right? Like I wasn't focused on the idea that I was somewhere. I was focusing on, okay, well, how do I get here? And how do I avoid these robots? And how do I solve this? And I can look around and point at stuff. And also there were a few things where, there were a few very, very funny demos. There was a demo called Office Simulator. And it's like in a world where robots have taken over, you are a human being walking through a day in the life of an office. It is a very quick game, and it is almost solely there so you can just get used to some of the mechanics of the Vive itself. But it's a lot of you. It's like what we're watching here now. A lot of you just like it's just so much fun to throw stuff and hit people in the face, and then also show how easy it is. Like through the VR, right? You go into your computer and check your email and use a mouse to do it, which is just so silly and fun. But it was enough that I became a job simulator, not office simulator. Sorry. I became so happy with just the comedy of it that I lost the fact that I was in this fake world, and it really made me think if you were to take the genre of game that to me I'm super excited for isn't a first-person shooter. It isn't, and necessarily maybe if you're into the Minecraft thing, I'm sure that there's great ways that you can do that. And I saw a few demos or played through a few demos like that. But I would say a puzzle game that has the comedy level of like a Tim Schafer Day of the Tentacle or even like a Leisure Suit Larry or something like that I would love that. Something where you can play through it and it's a bunch of hours and you feel it a lot more because you're actually standing up and moving around and whipping your head around instead of just having your eyes scan a screen. Immediately I was like, if that game existed now, I'd buy it now.
Yeah, it's like Bryce, can you pull up? Microsoft just had a demo of the HoloLens. I want to say they call it teleportation.
Yeah, holoportation. I thought that was a pretty cool idea. And in fact, as you were describing all this, Justin, I was wondering if the Vive's execution of the VR, because we've talked a lot about augmented reality, did it tip the scales where you feel like VR is hotter than AR? Because on the flip side, we're seeing, right now we're seeing footage of what looks like another person, 3D, just manifesting himself in your living room.
I actually don't. To me, I think that comparisons between VR and AR are only kind of here now with the veracity that they are now because they are kind of debuting at the same time or coming into consciousness at the same time. But ultimately, I'm going to be very excited about AR when it's something that I can wear around all the time. I will be very excited about VR when it's something that I can come home and become totally immersed with. It to me, they're two very different things. But, I'm excited for both. I mean, I guess so to your question, my excitement and how much I believe in the HTC Vive does not diminish my excitement for Magic Leap or HoloLens or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that it's in some of those systems they're putting cameras on them so they can do a mixture of it. The challenge is going to be with, we're going to get the really, really super sexy, exciting things with VR first, because it's, technically speaking, you're not trying to integrate it into the environment. Your Vive maps your room, tells you when you run into a wall. HoloLens maps the room, creates a 3D model of the room, projects things onto there, and is a much more technically complicated problem to solve, which is why you have that small window of which it can process, because outside of there, it's too complicated. I think we're going to end up with, I think the systems of the future are going to do both. It'll be an AR system that you flick a button and a shutter puts you into a totally immersive environment, and then you can do that. And then I think much further out, we'll get into technology we've talked about before, where you don't even wear headsets. So the demonstration we're watching right now it's a Microsoft researcher interacting with his daughter, and we're getting the really good high-end computer vision. When they show you what he sees, she looks very ghostly and would terrify me. But, because it's an AR system where the background can still be brighter than what he's looking at. But what you're looking at here is he's walking around his daughter, who's like a Princess Leia projection, but he's obviously using a headset to see it. And he can just make everything shrink and change size, if it's pre-recorded. The version that we're looking at, if you stand back from the screen, it looks like they're in the same room together.
Yeah, it really is astonishing. And it's weird because I don't know how, I guess there's really, we could see 50 years from now, nobody wanting to buy a new house unless it has an everywhere room, a room that you can step into that's got the cameras everywhere, that essentially you're outside, you're in public the moment you walk into that room.
I'll tell you what, though, that was the one thing that I was really excited with the Vive, though, because where I used it, it was just kind of the corner of a room. It was a fairly large room, but it was like, both of you, I don't know if Andrew's been in the apartment, Brian has, it would be half my studio
my invite
space.
got lost in the mail.
All right, we're not good. All right, whatever. But yeah, it didn't take that much, and it didn't need much more for me to run around. Now it would be rad if I had a whole area, but also I don't know what the how far you can put those light box cameras for the HTC are. I think that there is a predetermined set like floor space that it can go. So
as we're doing this podcast, by the way, we all know Chad Long, right?
Yeah.
Our buddy Chad's a magician, a fantastic magician. Chad is a world-class magician, one of the finest close-up magicians in the world. Seriously, and he would be embarrassed terribly to hear us say that, and he's hilarious. So Chad decides right in the middle of this to send me a photo of him standing next to Elon Musk.
Oh,
what?
Right? And then I make a face, and then he's standing next to Kimball Musk. And then he shows me a photo of a cover of, I don't know if I can show you this, but I will tell you this, a hardback copy of Nick Bostrom's book, Superintelligence.
Oh, wow.
That evidently he came across somewhere. It says, inside is the inscription, "Dear Elon, hope you find this interesting. Enjoyed meeting you at Oxford last year. Nick Bostrom."
Wow. He touched the sun. He
touched the book that helped make Elon paranoid about robots. This is like somebody, saying, in, I don't know, the Middle Ages, like, listen, I think we need to launch a crusade. Only it won't turn out as well.
DCTV in the chat room does make the very cogent question: how much did he pay for those pictures? Well, what is the pictures?
Exactly. No, Chad got paid, I'm sure, to do some show for some.
I know. He's so brilliant. There's, I don't know if this is still his opener, but he. At one time I saw him live, and he has this opener where he comes out, and he is a brilliant comedian, right? But he's in general and in life kind of a little nervous and reserved sometimes, but so funny, and he uses it to his advantage masterfully. But he comes out, and he's very energetic, and he's very kind of magician-y, and I believe the song like Fire. Woo, 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 is playing in the background.
Like burning down the house.
Oh, burning down the house. That's right. Yeah. Burning down the house. And so he's doing this big flourish and everything. He takes out this big thing of lighter fluid. He just arcs the spray like as far as his arm can go into his mouth, just empties half the lighter fluid into his mouth, and then gets out a big box of matches, tries to light one, fails, tries to light one, the second time fails, tries to light another one a third time. All the matches fall out onto the floor, and he just says, "Oh, well, I could have went better."
It's new.
Oh, it's new, yeah.
It's new. Oh, that's awesome.
It's so brilliant. I mean, like I have said, and I will say many, many times that there are only 15 people in Magic that could be genuinely funny without magic. That might be a conservative estimate. But Chad is probably the one that people don't know off the top of their head. You know, he is so brilliant.
Yeah.
He makes me cry. I will cry watching him perform because he's just so, his throwaway lines and stuff like that are just amazing. Yeah. But now we're gonna have a moment of hate. We're gonna all hate Chad Long.
Oh yeah.
Right
also,
now.
he's a hack and he sucks. And I hope.
Yeah. Just sending me photos next to hanging out with Elon Musk and showing me the Nick Bostrom book. So let's all just hate on Chad Long right now.
So you want to make that our first
I
pick?
did play a prank on him.
Is hating
What's
on
that?
Chad Long could be our first pick?
Yeah.
Picks?
Yeah, that's gonna be my first pick. I real quick. I played a prank on him years ago, and I told people that he was working on a magic act called the Fez Act, and that it involved a fez and a monkey. And so people would keep going up to him at magic conventions and go, "Chad, how's the Fez Act coming? You know, what's this about the Fez Act? What do I hear about the Fez Act?" And it was driving him nuts. And then I made a Photoshop of like him with the fez and like a monkey.
That's awesome. And so did he immediately know that it was you spreading rumors, or was it a case where he found out after a while that you were the one planting the seeds?
After a while, he found out I was the one planting
That's so
seeds.
great. That's awesome. Hey, man.
If I do stuff like that, my policy and stuff like that is, there's stuff I've done to people, they never know that I was the one that did it.
Right on. Do you guys have picks? Do you have stuff ready to go?
I do.
Let's hear it. What you got?
I am halfway through it now, but I am extraordinarily enjoying Daredevil on the Netflix.
Halfway through the first season or the second?
Second season.
Right on.
I really have never had any kind of enjoyment of Elektra. I've never really felt a pull to her as a character, but I really, really, really like what they did with her in this series. Now, maybe going forward, it'll be totally undone and ruined. But so far, like both the Punisher and Elektra and how they play against Daredevil and making Daredevil the effective center of all the characters, I think the writing's really, really well done. And it just gets why we care about superheroes on a level that another major motion picture that came out this week doesn't seem to want to grasp. So big shout out to Daredevil and a backhanded insult to Batman versus Superman.
I need to dive in. It's in that weird, unfortunate mushy middle where it's like Bonnie doesn't want me watching it without her, but she's not so available to, you get one a day, Brushwood, and so it's got to be Better Call Saul today or whatever. Like I probably would have gobbled it up immediately otherwise.
Yeah, and there's this moment where to do the Punisher well, they just have this great, they do everything that you would want the Punisher to be done well. They showcase his brutality, they showcase his efficiency, and then at the point where you get the reason why he is the Punisher, which for people who don't know the origin, you're just like, oh my God, this is just heartbreaking. And you feel every moment of it. It's so good.
Yeah. So I am continuing to listen through the Gentleman Bastards series of audiobooks by Scott Lynch, I believe his name is. And the second book is called Red Skies Over Red Seas, I think. The first book is The Lies of Locke Lamora. And it's interesting because I talk to people who have different tastes in what they want to get out of their audiobook. And I'm on team try to do character voices and try to make me as if you're there by the campfire, telling me the story, make me believe I'm there. And this one really goes hardcore in that direction. A lot of fancy fake accents to different characters, but as a result, I'm just so scooped into it. Love it. Having a great time. And then I saw
I'm going through.
sub pick. I saw Zootopia and it was great. Go see it. Super tight.
I don't know how my signal is here, guys. I'm getting some sketchy reception here as the robots become aware of what I said.
Yeah, you're looking good on our end. We're still receiving you, sir.
You sound good now.
All right, all that matters. My pick, gentlemen, I would say it's a little uneven, but it has heart and has some really laugh out loud moments. And I think it picks up towards the end is Pee-wee's Big Holiday, the brand new Pee Wee Herman film on Netflix.
Did you know?
Oh, really? All right. Now I'm intrigued.
Do you know that they digitally removed his wrinkles through the entire thing?
Oh, I have friends that were involved in the production of this who are telling me, about that. And I've met him a couple times. Like I've had just like the briefest of conversations about that. But one of my friends who knows him pretty well was saying that, that Paul Rubens, Paul had told him, said that the point is that Pee-wee doesn't age. And so what they did is and I think the this is not, he's 63 years old and I think it worked really well. This was not like that creepy X-Men Last Stand or whatever, their mutant power is to make their faces look really blurry. This was really well done. It was subtle enough, and Paul's voice and mannerisms and everything else was great. I was thrilled. I was thrilled to see that. I think it was a really good start or relaunch of the character outside of the Broadway show. It is TV movie. It's totally TV movie level. Some of the jokes are better than others. Some jokes are kind of it's the pacing is a little bit off, I'd say, in the beginning, but there is some funny stuff in there. And if you're a big fan of Pee Wee Herman like I am, you won't go.
I'm really glad to hear you say that because I sat down to watch with the kids. We got like 25 minutes in, and it hadn't really hooked them. And then there was a distraction, and I never got back to watching it just because the beginning, you could tell. I mean, it's a 63-year-old man playing this character now, not the 20-something, 30-something that we remember.
Yeah, I think that the pacing picks up a bit, but it's not. Again, it's just. I would say it's a good relaunch of the character, and I at the end of it I was very happy I saw it, but the beginning I'm like, this is kind of a little slow. This bit's going on long, or this or that. But then by the end of it, I was like, you know what? I'm really glad I saw it, and I'll probably rewatch it again at some point.
Oh, that's great. That
Let
is
me
awesome.
ask you guys this real quick, and we can go out on this. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, 1985.
Masterpiece.
Perfect.
Tim Burton's best movie? Question mark.
I mean, certainly, if you wanted to fudge, you could point out that there's certainly not been one better. I mean, what would you say? What, Batman? That has not aged well.
I mean, I guess Beetlejuice would probably be the.
Beetlejuice has aged incredibly well, but even when it came out, it came out to you either loved it or hated it.
I want to look up the Tim Burton oeuvre because it's one of those things where I'm inclined to agree with you automatically to say that sounds like it's it, but you think you look deep into it, like movies like Beetlejuice is a great one for sheer manic energy. Ed Wood,
so here's his
really
big run: Beetlejuice, Batman, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Ed Wood. And at that point, we get into the Mars Attacks, Sleepy Hollow, Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. No, I'm on board with this.
Yeah. I think Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of those movies I put as just as like a perfect film, like Galaxy Quest, one of these things that every frame I enjoy.
Yeah. By the way, quick plug before we go: Hacking the System is trending on the Netflix. So goose that trend. If you ain't seen it, hop on there, take a look. Might be
Not
right
only
there
hop on the trend there, guys. I'm going to tell you something. In this internet times are tough. Times are tough. Politicians are out there, talking about that, and we'd all like to do a little bit more for everybody else. We like to go into the restaurant and be the big tipper. The big tipper, just like not just do the 20% that every decent human being should start at as a tip. You want to do 30. You want to be the person that can do 50. You want to be the person that could do 100% on a bill, because you could have that noblesse, largesse, or oblige, whatever, that thing that I don't understand and don't practice. You want to be that person, but you can't. We live in a world of finite resources, finite things. Yes, it's a growing pie. The pie is growing. We believe that. But you know what you can do? When your finger is hovering over how many stars to give, you got to remember there are some evil, evil people out there that will hate things that are great, and it's your job to counteract that. Maybe you think it's 4 stars. You should click 5 stars. Click 2, more stars.
Balance out the universe, man.
Click on it. Click on it.
Fair
So
enough.
you go hack in the system. If you love Brian, or you just kind of like Brian, 5 stars.
I think he's an okay
5
guy.
stars. And while you're in front of your connected electronic device, hop on over to iTunes and YouTube and take a look at Justin's podcasts and Justin's YouTube shows and Justin's things that he's doing there, and click 5 stars. Click that thumbs up.
I'm trying to do that right now, but I'm just logged into Amazon.com. Is there anyone I could star up over there? No.
Not for me to say, Brian. Not
No,
for me.
no. Andrew can't say, because of course that's against the rules with Amazon. You can't solicit reviews. I will say,
even if I had a book that was at like 94 94 reviews, and almost all of them 5 stars, I was almost close to that 100 review threshold, which would then magic would happen. I would start getting pushed out there into email lists and all that. I can't tell you. I would never tell you to go in there and to give me a 5-star review.
no, and he can't and he won't. But here is what I will say. That if you have read Station Breaker, the amazing novel by Andrew Mayne, the hit of the Silicon Valley Comic-Con, the hit of WonderCon, well, then you need to get on the train. And if you've read it, then go the one step further. You already went all the way to the end of the book, enjoying every single page. Just one more step where you can click a 5 stars. He makes a 5 stars.
He make a 5 stars.
Because that's what you are going to do. And Andrew will be the grand beneficiary of your enjoyment. Make your enjoyment real. A momentum creator.
And I'm going to say, who's to tell you can't judge a book by the cover, all right? I'm not going to tell you that. I think maybe you could judge a book by a cover. I think you could look at a cover and go, that's pretty awesome. So no.
And certainly, look, there are people who rate books and they didn't even finish. What, just because they read the beginning and the middle and then quit before the end? That they're somehow better qualified? No.
Brian, I don't know if that'll happen because people call it a real page turner. Some people have said that it's better than The Martian, which I didn't tell Andy Weir that when I hung out with him last weekend. And by hung out with, I mean just stood next to him long enough to take a selfie.
$40 for a photo.
My point is...
Brian, have you met Andy Weir?
God, you're killing me. You're killing me. All of you. Just
I mean, are we just saying, oh, look,
Tamar's with all of you
Andy
asshats. No.
And I took a picture with Andy Weir because I was hanging out with him.
I read the book before any of you did. I was his earliest champion.
Yeah, and what did it get you?
And can I tell you something really kind of awesome? Super, super cool guy. Stayed longer to sign autographs. He had a really long line. All right, you heard me say it. Kids going up to him. 12-year-old kids, 13-year-old kids going up to him, excited to meet him because they read The Martian and it made them excited about space. And I know I've had my very qualified, this but comments. I think that's really awesome. That is really, really awesome to see, people excited about it. I watched a bunch of these physicists working on the gravitational wave experiment just nerd out talking to him and asking him questions that I maybe I had better answers for, but that doesn't matter because it was about Andy Weir.
Man. Well, anyway, we're all just great friends with Andy Weir, and we can prove it because we've taken pictures with him and Brian.
All right. That's yeah. You know what? When robots are writing all your next books, I hope you can sit in the unemployment line with them.
You and Chad Long can go to hell.
Gentlemen, it's been weird.
Pay $80 for a photo.
$80 for a photo.
$80.
Hell yeah.
All right. Hey, good job, guys. Anybody need a break?
Yeah, I gotta grab some water.
Alrighty.
I need some sweet relief from life. All right.
Hey there. Hi. How's it going? Hi, welcome to Between the Things. How's everybody doing? Anybody got any questions today? Are we having a good Easter? There was someone on one of the forums that I go to who was having a real big stink because the Google did not have an Easter doodle today. And they were very upset. And then it was the kind of thing where they went through that guy's like old threads and posts and found like some really shady stances and stuff. Like, I don't know. It was an interesting thing. That was my interesting thing happened on Easter, which is usually nothing. And I also got a text message from my mom. She said Happy Easter, and then I think it had what were the emojis she put in there? My mom likes to use emojis, and it's great. It has a bunny, 2 bunnies, and 2 chicks. Oh, that's great.
Emoji, free emoji. Emoji's been in prison for a long time.
I'm thinking of doing this thing, Brian.
Yeah.
Because I've had people asking me for music, and for a while the only playlist that I really kept up with was one of music that I knew would get through YouTube.
Yeah.
But that would miss whole swaths of things. So I'm thinking of like every 2 or 3 weeks or so, just putting out a playlist of just like new stuff that I found.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea.
And maybe, I don't know if there's like a newsletter. So I don't know. I if you're on Apple Music.
Can you follow other people on Apple Music or?
No, you can't follow people. You would have to follow artists, but also all of those tools are really bad.
Yeah.
So like I post stuff and I don't think it's ever gone anywhere. So
it is such. I love Apple, but man, anytime they try to do something social, it's Fraser Crane, stumbling over the simplest explanation.
So I got this Amazon Echo.
Oh, dude, is it magic? I hear it's magic.
Really? I'm like, this was the first time that I looked at a device and I'm like, and I hate doing the second guessing, like, if Steve Jobs was alive. And so this is not that, but it's like, this is the experience that I would expect from Apple.
Wow.
I am a huge Apple fanboy. And I don't use Siri nearly as much as maybe I did before because Amazon Echo is such a better, tighter experience. And, just the mere fact that, like, I'll get, if my phone's plugged in and I can go, hey, Siri, da-da-da-da-da, and waiting for that bleep, bleep, it's annoying. If I go, Alexa, what's the weather like?
Well, and if you're far enough away from your phone, hey, Siri won't hear you.
Yeah, and I can yell at her, Alexa, from the other room.
Yeah.
It is so, and every night, this is the last thing before I go to bed at night is, Alexa, set my sleep timer for 10 minutes.
You just actually turned on, you turned on my Alexa.
And then, Alexa, play my audiobook.
Okay, now you're just, I'm going to start muting you because now it's going to.
Alexa, stop. But that's every night. That's
Alexa, stop.
Every night, that is my ritual. That is my thing. And it's when I wake up in the morning, if her alarm, Really nice, gentle alarm. So easy to set the alarm. It is. And have you done the Wayne investigation?
No.
So you can enable a skill where you can do it's a mini little choose your own adventure. That's
really?
about the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents.
That's great. I mean, here's what I use it for all the time lately is just turning on music. We'll just shuffle. I'll just say a band and it'll just shuffle it. It's easy for me to stop it. It's easy for me to start it. I don't got to look at a menu. I just say a name, it starts playing, and then I say stop and it stops, which is just awesome and great. I use it for information all the time. Alexa, did Syracuse win today?
We assume something being said.
You probably can't hear it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like it's quick, it's smart. I've started doing my daily briefing. You get it. You just get a daily briefing of like the news around. It'll tell you what your commute is. You set your commute, through the app once. It's one of those things that the two elements that I've always expected Apple to kind of make more of was Siri and AirPlay, because at the point where they were there, they were kind of best in class for me. And I feel like both of those windows have kind of closed. The AirPlay to me is still the best, but like you have to have it. You have to have it on Apple TV. You got to turn on your TV. You got to switch inputs normally. Like, and for I look at Alexa no, stop it, Alexa. I look at the Echo, and I'm like, this is exactly what Siri should have evolved out of your phone years ago.
Please log in.
Can you do something on your phone with it?
Yeah, you can set things up with it. So it'll show the list of everything that I asked for. Like the last audiobook that I played, you can enable skills. It works with if this then that. You can set up like to control your lights and stuff and do that kind of thing. And so it gives me like a list of things. I laughed and made fun of, probably on one of our podcasts, of the commercial when they first launched it, because it's like, well, it just looks like a dumber Siri. But they keep, every week they announce the updates to it. And then that audiobook integration for me was just pivot. It's really that hands-free. And I'll be in the middle of the night, eyes shut, under covers. Alexa, what time is it? And she tells me, it's just
that it's that micro 2-second delay being gone makes all the difference.
Brian, it's absolutely, and that's one of the biggest differences between it and Siri, is that when I go, "Hey Siri," and you can go ahead, say, "Hey Siri," and start asking her a question, but she's going to do that little beep beep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me think about it. Hey, can we retroactively?
Okay, you just.
Oh, sorry.
Andrew, you were chopping up there.
This is fascinating stuff to me. Can we retroactively make after things have already started? Is that a possibility? Like, can we come in at the beginning when you were talking about the?
Tell you what, I wouldn't mind, because I do got to be like doing another podcast in 30 minutes.
Okay, I can try to figure that out, I guess.
Awesome. So even if you just need to pop in and say, "Hey, we stumbled in, and here's we'll fade in." Okay, cool. What else? What else, you guys? What's on your mind?
Let me just do the intro for it.
Okay.
Here, can you call us back, Andrew? Your connection is pretty. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna have to figure out time codes.
God, how much is an Echo?
A couple hundred. Couple hundo.
About like 180, and then they have the cheaper versions now too. There's like the Dot, and there's a portable version so it can follow you everywhere.
Do you need a main one to get the
No, they don't network like I think they could.
Oh.
Or hopefully will. And there is still some frustrating elements of it, but really the biggest thing that I think is probably the biggest compliment I could pay it is that I look at it and I want my other devices to be more like it. Like now I have like 2 Sonoses that effectively cover the entire apartment. And I'm like, dude, this is dumb. Why do I got to go into an app and pick a thing? Like, why can't I just yell at it? Or why can't it just connect to my Echo so I can just yell what will play over my Sonoses? Although I guess now that's what the dot's for is so, because that's what the thing with the dot is that people wanted a chance to play stuff on their own speakers because they had better speakers than what come on the Echo.
So, gentlemen, I tried an experiment this week.
Was it an ethical experiment?
Maybe. I don't know if part of it was, but I assume so. As a writer working on my productivity, I'm always looking for ways to improve and produce more. That's, I guess, the goal of productivity. And I had been having conversations with my friend Peter Wax, who's a great author, and he's worked with Kevin J. Anderson. And by the way, Kevin J. Anderson, I am going to be part of a humble bundle that Wordfire Press, his publishing company, is going to be putting out like in a week or so.
Oh, that's great.
We're doing a humble bundle with a bunch of fantastic authors. It's going to be a super great deal. You'll get a ton of books in there. And even if you have, like, I put the Chronological Man in there because it'll be a lot of people who never read it, but forget my stuff. There'll be great stuff in there. But I'll pimp that out a little bit more. But anyhow, Kevin J. Anderson is an extremely prolific author. If you look at his bibliography, this is a guy that wrote a bunch of Star Wars novels. He's written X-Files novels. He's written with Brian Herbert, the Dune novels that came after Frank Herbert, and his own is entirely in his own franchises and stuff that he's created. This guy's written hundreds of books.
Is he the one that does a lot of voice dictation? There was one of these prolific guys who just goes for walks and tells stories.
He hikes. The guy hikes when he does. So he's known as the hiking author. So he wanted to climb all the tallest mountains in Colorado when he moved there, and he brings along a tape recorder or the recorder. I guess it's not tape. It's a recorder, digital recorder. And will narrate as he does this. And this was a fascinating idea to me. I can comfortably create 1,600 words an hour. And there's a difference between a typing speed and a creating speed. Typing speed is just not having to invent names and things that's going on versus creating 1,600 words an hour is about how much I feel comfortable. And I was interviewing Peter I do a lot of interviews now on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Andrew Main. And Peter mentioned to me that he had been learning how to do this and that Peter was saying that like the upper limit is around 9,000 or 10,000 words an hour. He says that's the speed. If you listen to it, and he made this great analogy. He said if you listen to an Audible book and the narration there, a good narrator does about 9,000 words an hour. And if you have enough of your stuff pre-planned, you could, maybe come close, but you don't have to because you click the pause button. And that was the big thing that Peter taught me was it's not like you just hit record, sit back, and start telling the story. You clicked record and said they walked into a dark room. Pause.
And then you take a moment to think like, okay, was it hot? Is it sweaty? Is it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you figure out the right way to phrase it.
Yeah, and if you have a lot of it in your head, and if you're doing dialogue, you can do a ton of it at once. And Peter and I came up with sort of a training program for me to try doing it because I had problems before trying to do that. I did not want to do Dragon Naturally Speaking. And people are like, oh, I use that. The only people I know that works really well for are people who have problems typing because it's extremely slow because you have to say period. He walked in a room, period. Quote, who are you, comma, quote, he asked, period.
Yeah.
I have friends who have dyslexia or friends who have carpal tunnel syndrome who use it and it works wonderfully for them. But people I know who are skilled typists, I don't know anybody who feels that that's a good medium to do. So what I did is I would dictate into my little digital recorder, and then I used a service that I paid to do transcription. And I found rev.com, rev.com, for $1 a minute would transcribe it, which is a little bit pricey, but it is and it isn't. If you wanted to do an 80,000 word novel, depending on how long it was, I gave it a shot after going through practicing some different, ways to get into it from Peter's suggestion. And then my goal was, if I hit like 2,000 words an hour or whatever, I'd be above my typing speed and that would be worthwhile and I could walk while I did this. I was hitting like 5,000 words an hour my first
Wow.
time out.
Wow. And you felt like the content was as good as it would be with you typing it?
I think so. I sent a sample to Justin to take a look at when he gets a chance because I actually in that test actually if you total like the total amount that I spent would have been like about 8 or 9,000 words an hour. And now what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I don't have to fill if I'm out for an hour walk, I don't have to have an hour of dictation. If I get 20 minutes, that's fine because that was an hour I was going to spend walking, and it's just a bonus that I got that. But I'm writing a book now that the chapters are about 2,000, 2,500 words long. I go out for an hour walk. I get 20 minutes there. I write a chapter in that walk.
So what you sent me today, I took a look at, but I have not read. Is that what you got back from rev.com?
I went in and I then read what they'll do is when they understand that it's somebody speaking, they'll put it as quotes. They put the commas, the periods, they do the grammar. They don't put it into paragraph form, and paragraph form is subjective anyways. There's not a so I went through there and I put that into my finished paragraph form and I was just curious, to have an outside reader do it because that is extremely dialogue heavy. There's not a lot of action stuff taking place, but the point is that it's been a very interesting experiment. And when I did that write up, I have a write up where I talk about it on my blog at andrewmain.tumblr.com. I explained my first experiment, and then I had a problem about 3 days ago. I said, okay, I was doing some test stuff about a sci-fi novel, and I said, all right, I've got a book that I have a really strong character I'm very interested in doing that I really want to finish this book. Let me try it with that. And I walked outside with my tape recorder, and I started to try to get going, and I couldn't. I was like, man, like I can't get this started. What's the problem? And I talked to Peter about that, and he's like, well, you probably don't know how the character's voiced. You don't know the point of view yet. And I think anytime you reach a hesitation or writer's block, it's because there are questions you don't realize you don't have answers to. And that was very much on the money. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to write this book, and the next book I'll dictate. Well, I got about 4,000 words in, 5,000 words into this book, and I said, you know what? I need to go for a walk. I'm like, I'll bring the tape recorder. And in about 2 or 3 hours, I had spoken just as much as I'd already written earlier in the day.
Well, I would imagine, beginning things is the hard part, right? Where you only have an amorphous idea, and you once you get the base, and once you see a direction, it becomes increasingly obvious. Now we just fill in X, Y, and Z, and it's almost as though it's. I would imagine that the storytelling elements, when you have A and C, and all you got to do is figure out what B wants to be, that's a much much shorter decision process creatively than beginning like, well, I know I'll start with A, but then where do I go?
Yeah, Brian, it's absolutely on the point, and that often we forget how many things we have prepared already mentally in the toolbox that we're just pulling out that feels spontaneous. And in the moment, it's like music. You have to know chords. You have to know these other things before you sit down and you start composing. When it comes to a story, you need to have you shouldn't be making up the every detail about the character as you're writing. You should have a clear idea of who they are and all that. And you may think conceptually you have a good idea, but it's like a dream where it's more of an abstract understanding. And then once you try to sit down and do this, you're like, oh yeah, I have no idea what kind of clothes he wears. I have no idea what's in his pockets, and does he have his own car or whatever. And when you start stumbling on that, but once you start getting into it, and that was the case for me last night. Is I went, I recorded 40 minutes and uploaded it to rev.com around 1 a.m. I woke up this morning and they had a finished transcription for me.
That's amazing. So it's that fast. Like it's within hours. That's not even like a day turnaround.
Yeah, I would love to find a cheaper way to do this because it's like, paying $60 for an hour of, transcription. And I've had a few people volunteer. I'm like, oh, here, try this. Still waiting to get it back. So there's a reason why you pay.
Yeah, no, I mean, because that's the thing is what you're really buying is you're buying timeliness and accountability for the deadlines and a guarantee of a certain level of quality to where you're able to come back and say like, hey man, I'm paying you $60 an hour. You can't catch this flub or whatever.
Yeah, I thought Rev.com did again, I had to go in and tweak it, but not like you know, I would love for Dragon Dictate to work. There's supposed to be like an auto grammar function in there, but I've never been able to test it, and I have not found a single review online of anybody using it. I mean, my dream would be like, yeah, I just go record this, plug it into my computer, and come back, and I have a good enough rough draft, not an unpunctuated rough draft that would just give me a headache.
Right.
I think that's the rough part about it, and that's why they're able to charge $1 a minute, right? There's just that element that we can't replicate mechanically yet. Although, what if you got really cute and just sped up your voice and then just sent them?
Well, you mentioned that, but actually, I was trying to remember if there was a podcast filter that cut out. I remember the name of something, I couldn't find it. A podcast filter that cut out spaces. I think
cutting out there was spaces. I don't remember. I know that there was one that would kill noise.
Audacity has a filter that you can configure to remove silences, but
yeah, I was looking up the Audacity
tough.
manual on that, and I was trying to find out, like, man, is there? I would love just to drag and drop this file in there, and I was trying to remember if there was something, but maybe it was just something that just adjusted everybody's levels. And I know that and some people are pointing out that some of the podcast players can remove silences while you play, but I'm not aware of, I would love just a drag and drop piece of software that I could put something in, because I could probably shave, 15, 20% off, but, I can't think of something that would go in and do that, which maybe I don't need to get that cheap,
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that extra $15, $20, just good on you, Rev.com.
Yeah, because you figure if you do a book that's 80,000 words, and if you were doing, if you're hitting like a high point of, let's say, 8,000 words an hour, you're going to pay $600 to have somebody transcribe it, which in the scheme of things for me is not a lot of money to pay. I mean, not that I'm moneybags here throwing around 600 bills like left and right, but like I will end up making more money than that when I release a book. Especially if you guys go onto Amazon.com and buy Station Breaker.
Oh, snap! 5 stars.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that's your pick for this week is Rev.
Yeah, it's a good. Brian, I will pick Rev.com, and one of the things they do too is every time you get a review back, you get your transcription back. They're very eager to, like, hey, if you give this 3 stars or less, this person won't do another one of your manuscripts. Also, this is kind of cool, and this is a way to think about this too, is if you're in a time crunch and you got to get something done, and there's a couple stories of, like, I think Dostoevsky had to, like, write a book in a hurry, and he hired a woman to transcribe it for him, and he ended up marrying her. Milton, Paradise Lost, wrote this when he was blind, having his daughters transcribe him. So Rev has a iPhone app, which is a recorder, right? So you can go in there and you can record something, blah, 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 and then upload it, and within the app, order your transcription and everything.
Wow.
I don't use that. I use a recorder with a little lapel mic thing because I like to be able to start and stop and do that very easily, but it's an option.
Yeah, that's rad.
Brian, do you have a pick?
Not really. I guess just to touch on, I mentioned Zootopia in there, but it's really an exquisite testament to their storytelling prowess. There is not an ounce of fat on that thing from beginning to end, and they also do a fantastic job of, when you get that aha moment of a good surprise or a good callback, and you can very kludgily set up, Chekhov's gun in the first act, and then oh well, the good thing that gun was there that they went out of their way to tell me about early on. But when Disney does really well at their scripts, it serves another purpose to where, and specifically in Zootopia, there's this whole like training period that she goes through. And the story they're telling at that moment is this little recruit is failing a lot and has a lot of gumptions. It's this whole officer and a gentleman moment. But the real purpose of it was to essentially highlight all of the dangers that she's going to encounter on the job, and you have all these parallel moments, and you realize like, oh, I understand the consequences of being dangled over that ice and how it would kill Bunny, because we definitely saw, it was the officer shouting that she'd be dead. It was just great, and just so visually rich. Just great storytelling all around.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, man. Disney animation, post Pixar, just killing it. My pick.
I have one more pick.
Okay, go ahead.
If you're looking for a really good head-to-head battle against two titanic superheroes, and that delightfully turns into an ensemble piece, I'm so excited about Civil War, I can't contain myself.
All right, so everybody, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow, me and Scott Johnson are going to do a big Batman, Superman Hotline Monday. People can call in. I've been saving my Batman, Superman hot takery for that. But, man, am I excited for Civil War. Man, Civil War is going to be great. So good.
If we could combine the cinematography of Batman versus Superman with Civil War.
Tomorrow.
Well, I know, because like listen, I mean, like, Larry's a friend. Larry Fong's a cinematographer on Batman vs Superman. He's worked with Snyder and J.J. Abrams a lot,
and me,
and you a lot.
Shot one thing for me.
His visual style, I feel like, is one of those things that when we look back at our age of cinema now, will be something that we identify very much of its age, and to his credit, he has pioneered that. But that movie.
Tune in tomorrow, folks.
You'll never guess. Did he like it? I can't tell.
No. It's not that. Listen, I didn't like it, and I've said I didn't like it, right? But it's just like this right now. This is not me wanting to like save it for Hotline Monday. This is just me not wanting to crap on any element that, like, I mean, because it's not Larry's fault. Like the movie looks gorgeous. Like it looks really, really cool. It's just, how many times it's like, oh man, finally we have our greatest iconic clash of ideologies. In this corner, the grim, gray, slightly unhinged world of a gritty Gotham and its great and terrible Batman. And in this corner, the gritty, gray world of Metropolis and its dour hero, Superman. Now let's see who can pout the hardest as God cries fat tears upon such a melancholy battle.
You're kind of making it sound watchable.
Sold. I have a quick fix. Is instead of them putting more dream sequences in there, they should have had the Justin narration.
Oh, yeah, dude, I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah. All right. And, so they spoil this in the trailer, right? Wonder Woman's there. Doomsday comes out, right? They fight Doomsday. Here's my thing. They're going to do from here a Justice League movie. Who's watching that fight and is like, oh, yeah, this is cool, but just wait until Aquaman gets in. That's going to really be something awesome. These are your 3 biggest heroes.
Like, hey guys, can we bring this battle close to the waterfront? Hint, hint. Because a seahorse could really effing tip this in our favor.
It's like, oh man, I'm sure when Cyborg gets in the mix, this is really gonna light a flame. So anyway, the movie looks good. It's not a good movie. Whatever. Okay, here's my pick. Documentary Now. It's on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the IFC Fred Armisen joint.
Fred Armisen, Bill Hader, and Seth Meyers are the creative forces behind it. I just watched their 2-part finale, the Blue Jean Committee. So if you're not familiar with the premise of the show, each episode is its own self-contained parody of a style of documentary. And the Blue Jean Committee, I think it's like Gentle and Soft, the story of the Blue Jean Committee, is their rockumentary parody about a soft rock band from the 70s. And it's a two-parter. It's like each episode is like 20 minutes. But it's such a great, because there's been a couple fake. I mean, like if it's not Christopher Guest, mockumentaries are kind of hit and miss. Because Christopher Guest kind of knocked it out of the park and realizing like, hey, no, you have to like just have amazing improv actors that will make this seem real and awkward and awesome and have chemistry, and it's super fun. But there's been other ones that have come out recently that are like, once you kind of get past the idea that okay, it's a fake documentary, and now no one's going to be able to say two lines without them trying to make a joke, as opposed to funny elements of documentaries where people are just awkward and weird, and that's what's funny about it. This documentary now is very committed to playing it straight where it needs to be straight and letting kind of the absurd elements sort of come out organically, which I think is really, really awesome. So go ahead and watch it. I liked it.
You saw What We Do in Shadows, right?
No.
Oh, Justin.
You could be disappointed in me too, boss. I ain't seen it. I ain't never even heard of it.
God. So let me explain to you. What We Do in Shadows, why I love that is that it starts off with what you think is kind of a one-joke premise. Let's do a mockumentary about a group of vampires. And it absolutely hits it in the right way where at first you get the jokes and then you get invested in them. And then you care about the characters. And they did so many things right. And I'm excited about Takela, the director of this. He's going to be doing the next Thor movie, I think,
Wow.
I can never pronounce his name, but yeah, they talk about click on Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi, yeah. And Jermaine
shows
Clement.
you
Flight of the Conchords.
Click down to his next, what he's doing next as a director, and it's got click on So he's doing Thor Ragnarok, right? And you watch What We Do in Shadows, and you realize that it takes these sort of almost cartoonish characters and it gets the jokes, and then you are invested in them, and then it still continues to be funny, but in whole new levels, and they evolve over time. They have character arcs within the structure of this, and it was such a well done one, and such an example of how to do really good storytelling. And also, it wasn't like, oh, we'll just do one vampire, we'll do several, so each one has a good 15-minute story or 20-minute story in there, and then we can tell them together and give you a full, as a storyteller, I go, oh man, this is great. This is how you take somebody as a kind of an interesting arc, but not a huge 2-hour arc, and you combine it with these other people and their relationship, and it's worked great. And yeah, he's doing a sequel because there's werewolves in there, and they're kind of like bros running around, and it's pretty funny. And it's going to be called Werewolves, WE''RE wolves. So. We're wolves.
Oh, awesome. Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, please. I think you'll be glad you did. It'll change the way you think about that genre.
Sweet.
Gentlemen, it's Ben After.
Cool.
I thought Ben Affleck was all right. I want to see a Ben Affleck Batman movie because he'll write and direct it, and he has enough clout that he can write and direct it and have nobody up his butt. I think that'd be good.
Well, he brought in Chris Terrio from Argo into this.
Yep.
And Terrio also did Terrio work with him on The Town, or?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I mean, listen, again, a million people touched that movie, right? So I don't know who to say this is this person's fault, this is that person's fault. Like four dream sequences? Four dream sequences. Four. And a waking fantasy.
Andrew's Law. I hate the IMDb mobile app because you just click right by like what they're. Yeah, he did Argo.
Can I tell you the opening dream sequence?
Yes.
Spoiler alert if you're watching this.
Spoiler alert for
Maybe
Batman
just
Superman.
heads
This
up.
is literally the first scene. open on a funeral.
Mm.
Guess what? Bruce, do you know this about little known fact, fun fact about Bruce Wayne? Do you know his parents got killed?
Get out of town.
What?
Yeah, parents got killed, right?
Yeah.
It turns
Man,
out
I
it's
would
like a
imagine
huge
that
thing
would
for
bring him, to some darkness in his life. Give him a thing.
Yeah. So intercut the funeral with his parents walking down the street with little Bruce. Guy pulls a gun, shoots
What
Papa.
happens next? Oh, okay.
Mama Bruce Wayne, her pearls fly up very dramatically from
Bet it looks great in 3D.
looks in 3D. I'm sure it looks amazing. Wraps around the back of the gun, the revolver that is pointing at her.
Well, that's how when you get shot, oftentimes you fling your body in such a way that your necklace lands on the
Very common
happens in
thing
Mardi
that
Gras.
happens all the time. The gun goes off. The barrel is coming back, breaking the pearl necklace and dramatically sending all of the pearls all over the place. This goes back to the funeral. Bruce is crying. There's some light Ben Affleck narration over top of it. He's running away, and Alfred's chasing after him a little bit. He's running off into the woods and falls into a pit where guess what animal swarms around him?
Penguins.
Bats.
You guessed it. So bats
Well, birds of some kind, bats.
Yeah.
circling around him, at which point, instead of being scared, he spreads his arms out, which I'll tell you what, if I weren't watching a movie so subtle about its God allegories, I would have described it as Christ-like. And he begins levitating, surrounded by a cone of bats.
Now, nothing about this has indicated that this is a dream at this point, right?
Nothing. It's just a memory, right? And then he just starts levitating, and then Batman says and that's how the dream ends or something. I don't know. There's just some indication that this is a dream and this is not a world in which Batman has levitation powers.
Oh my gosh.
But you are certainly supposed to initially have that thought of oh my God, does Batman levitate in this movie? No, it's a dream sequence.
Wow.
It's been hanging with David Blaine.
Yeah, no, it's
How do I not walk out at this point? That's my question for you, Justin.
Oh,
I called Andrew right after I got out, and I said, "Listen, man, I will pay for your ticket. I will pay for your ticket because I just need to know at what point Andrew walks out. Because having been friends with Andrew for as long as I have, I know this. Andrew's got a life's too short 20-minute bubble at the beginning of a movie, right? Where it's just if there's enough dick steppery in the first 20 minutes, then Andrew will just be like, you want to know what? Listen, you had the whole time that you were making this movie, you knew you had to make an impression. And if you couldn't get it together for the first 20 minutes, then life's too short. I just can't. From a scale from 1 to even, I just can't right now. And there are so many of those moments right up top that I'm I think this is a big contender for Andrew just life's too shorting it and just hitting the bricks.
And that's the quandary that I'm in that I could not finish Man of Steel. I had to get up and leave. When he got punched into IHOP, I get product placement as a producer. I understand, but I'm and there's his childhood bully looking down on him, whatever, and I'm and I'm watching these cutscene action sequences where these blurs are fighting, and then he gets punched in there. I'm I don't care. I can't care. I had to go home, and I said, you know what? I'll buy this when it comes out on iTunes and try to watch this thing again, because I don't want to be the guy in the theater hating on this thing.
Yeah. Hey,
There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of laughs. I was laughing. There's one.
like intentionally laughing, or
I mean, there's one moment in the movie where I was laughing so hard I started crying, and I made Brett confirm that I had tears in my eyes.
it was a joke moment.
Oh no! It's a little moment in the movie.
It's the car. Chicks dig the car.
I'll just say this. It's a moment that if the exact same thing happened in the Lego Batman movie, a parody of Batman that takes the oversized elements of his personality for
By the way, I'm
effect
very excited about the Lego
and
Batman
laughs.
movie.
If this exact same scene played out, exact same dialogue, right? But you just added one little wink to the camera, same thing. Audience should be rolling in the floor, rolling in the aisles.
So you weren't the only one laughing in the theater at this moment, were you?
There was, I don't know. I mean, the number one, it was packed. You know, the movie did 170 domestic, so it's on track to do 350, right? But I will say, normally with these kinds of flicks, you get the big fanboy audiences. You'll get the big cheer at the end, the big stand up and applause things. There was maybe 5 people that decided to stand up and applaud, which is kind of a sad showing for a thing like that.
And it's this, and part of it is that there's this, and somebody said that DCTV said that, oh, that's a problem with superhero movies. No, there have been some great ones, and even Ant-Man was way better than it had any business being, and there have been some really, really good superhero movies, because they're just movies that we put into the genre of superhero that doesn't always apply. I think that there is this reaction because, you get people I know people, they love Batman, they love Superman, and their love of those characters is why they're defending this. Is it?
I mean, and you can like the movie because people go to see movies for different reasons.
You're allowed to like it. That is true.
And that's fine. The point isn't to shame somebody who doesn't like the movie. The point of it is just
shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
So all right, guys, it's 9:00. I gotta go make the rounds.
All right. Bye, guys.
Jerry's coming right back in the next 10 minutes. So if you're on diamondclub.tv, just hang out, and Jerry's gonna begin soon.